Welcome back. Welcome to Long Form Improv, Chapter 3. Actually, I should say Reading Long Form Improv, Chapter 3. And Chapter 3 is one of my favorite chapters. A lot of these chapters are really short, and they're meant for easy digestion. One of my favorite chapters is Chapter 3, and that chapter is titled, wait for it, Comedy. There's a little quote by Mick Napier on there. It says, some of the best scenes I've ever seen are those that are about not getting laughs. So true. I agree. You know, when people take long-form improv classes, even improv classes in general, they're afraid. Makes sense. Why are they afraid? They're scared. Well, I can't speak for everybody, but I can speak for a lot of people. When people take long-form improv classes, they're afraid that they're going to get up on stage, do something that's not funny, the people won't laugh, and they'll thus have failed, and they'll be miserable, horrible people, such losers of indescribable, horrible talent that they're just really not worth living on this world, and then they end it ceremoniously in a seppuku. I'm sorry, I went a little too far with that. What happens is when people enter long-form improv classes, they want to be funny. They feel like they need to be funny, and that if they don't, they suck at long-form improv. I want to say something! You know what? Long-form improv is not comedy. Long-form improv is not comedy. Long-form improv is not comedy. Long-form improv is one endeavor. Comedy is another endeavor. They may inflect each other, but they're not the same thing. You can pursue comedy. You can pursue long-form improv. And you can put them together. Are they required to be together? No. That's my big point. They're different. They're different endeavors and they're different foci. When you're focused on long-form improv, we've already talked about. We're talking about cooperation. We're talking about supporting everybody. We're talking about playing a character for an extended period of time. When you're focused on comedy, that's a whole other thing. Well, what might that mean? Well, that's what this chapter aims to talk about. When we are talking about, let's talk about some terms I mentioned in the chapter. Some terms like funny, comedy, and drama. What does the word funny mean, or what is the word funny? Well, the word funny is a label, and it's a label that we apply to things. It's a label that we apply to things that make us laugh. So whenever we see something that makes us laugh, we say, hey, that's funny. It's an evaluation of our nervous system, I guess you could say, that makes upon something that we experience. So we see a banana on the ground. Oh, that's funny. We've labeled it as funny. The thing is that we sometimes forget is that it's a personal experience if something is funny. If it's a personal experience if I laugh. And if someone else laughs, it doesn't make it any less personal. It's that person's personal experience and it's shared. But the greater point is that what's funny is subjective. What's funny to me is not necessarily what's funny to you. It may be what's funny to you, but it doesn't necessarily is. It's not necessarily. That is, what's funny is not an absolute evaluation. Something is not, it's not this. That's funny or it's not funny. If someone comes and say that's not funny, that does not necessarily mean that that's an absolute judgment and on that thing. So if someone comes in and says you are not funny, it really means is you do not make me laugh. But if another person in the room says, you are funny, that means that you make me laugh. It's a nice distinction. It helps make war against those people, especially maybe just your own personal mindset that when you say, I'm not funny. What you're saying is, I don't make people laugh. And that might not even be true. It just might be a matter of finding the right audience, the people who adore you. So that's the word funny. What about the word comedy? Well, the way I tend to define the word comedy is that I use the word comedy again as a label. It's a label that's applied to something that is designed to make people laugh. It may or may not succeed in making people laugh, but if it's designed to make people laugh, then it's called comedy. I can think of a movie that might make a ton of people laugh. That's comedy. But a movie that's intended to make a lot of people laugh and fails at that endeavor, we probably call that comedy, but we necessarily call that the best kind of comedy. Now, lastly, so we have funny, which is anything that makes someone laugh. We have comedy, which is a work designed to make people laugh, and we have drama. And I'm not talking about drama in the sense of the word play, as synonymous with the word a play. I mean drama in the sense of being dramatic. And if something is dramatic, in the sense that I mean, then it's a work designed to make someone tense. It's an all right definition. It kind of works. So my point is that whenever we're working on different play, we're working on long-form improv. And whether it be a dramatic kind of long-form improv or a comedic long-form improv, whether it will be perceived as funny, what we're doing is we're getting physiological. That is, we're trying to understand the mechanisms of the audience's nervous system, the way they think, the way they experience reality, the aesthetics, their aesthetic values. We're trying to understand their physiological components to trigger that laughter response or the tension response. We're trying to do that, which makes maybe you a scientist. Oh, I don't know, maybe sociologist, psychologist, whatever. But there's this physiological thing. I mean, you could go up to your audience and tickle them and you'll make them laugh, sure. You're probably not doing that. You're probably not laying hands on them, so you're probably trying to find ways to make them laugh without tickling them. So that's that. Now, and when it comes to long form improv, again, I say long form improv is not comedy. It may be inflected by comedy. Either endeavor may inflect each other, but they are different endeavors. When it comes to teaching long form improv, I do not care if you make me laugh. I don't care. Go up there and do not make me laugh. That is A-okay. What am I focused on as a teacher? I'm not focused on whether you make me laugh. I love it when you make me laugh. I'm not focused on that. What I'm focused is whether you're following the form that I'm teaching, the instructions I'm giving you, whether you're doing a strict observance and in the case of a rule, or if you're doing a more general observance in the case of a principle. I'm focused on your form. I'm also might be focused on, if I've given you the form of, say, a herald, which is a specific kind of form when you're performing in long form improv. The confusion will be sorted out later. I'll be paying attention whether you're following that, because I want to get you in those directions. But I do not care if you make me chortle, guffaw, chuckle, whatever. I love it when you do, but it's not the point. Remember that. So if you get up and you feel like, you know what, I'm not funny, it doesn't matter when you're doing long form improv. Go up and do something. The wonderful consequence is when you go up on there, you've probably heard this before, when you go up on the stage, you don't focus on being funny, you get the audience to laugh anyway. And then they start applying the words funny to you. They start labeling you as funny even though you weren't trying. And the other odd aspect of it is when you go up there trying to be funny, we're trying to make people laugh, when it's obvious in that case, you seem to fail miserably. They don't laugh. They resist laughing. So, when you're doing long form improv, do not worry about making the audience laugh. Do not worry about making me laugh, the rest of the people in your class laugh. Just focus on doing whatever you want. And what's the funny thing is that you will make people laugh, presumably. That's one of the consequences of not being funny. What ultimately matters most, and this is the last thing I'll close out, is that it's more about entertainment. It's more about, like, just, entertaining the audience. If it's a matter of waving your hands in front of the camera as you're talking and that's entertaining, wonderful. You've entertained the audience. Probably this will sound like a negative thing. I don't think I commented in this chapter, but this will sound like a negative thing when you're improvising or if I'm teaching. If I say your stuff is boring, I mean, it's a personal experience. It doesn't interest me. It's not necessarily a negative. It's a physiological feedback for you. If you're improvising a scene and I say afterwards, like, it bored me, that's good for you to know. So you want to entertain me. So maybe I'm entertaining you with my hands. Maybe I entertain you with fart noises or picking my nose, whatever the case. That's lowbrow. Maybe I entertain you in other ways by providing you with your mathematical equation and showing you the derivation of it. I don't know, whatever. Entertain the audience, that's more the point. I'm Ben Hauck. Again, you've been listening to Reading Long Form Improv, all supplemental video for my book, this video series, which is available at Amazon and Kindle and EPUB and maybe an audiobook someday too, if you support me. Cheers and thanks a lot for watching. Goodbye. Hasta la vista, vista la hasta. Ciao.